All right, so Manscaped, Meridian, and Brio all came out with new versions of their flagship trimmers. So today I'm going to be showing you the Meridian Trimmer Plus and how that compares to these two. Here we go. So inside the box, you will find a charging dock, charging cable, brush, and the trimmer with its one guard. Let's unbox these guys. All right, so with the Meridian trimmer, one of the biggest gambles they took with this is totally switching out the guards and going to this single guard that slides up and down versus what they've had on the previous trimmers and what most other companies are doing, which is using guards that snap on to the blade. One of the tricks here is that it probably has a little bit more range than this trimmer used to have, which is with its several snap-on guards that it came with, but the way this guard functions is going to be completely different. So one thing you'll notice is when sliding this up and down, it's always going to take two hands to slide that up and down. So you're going to have to hold the trimmer like this, push that button in, and then with that other hand, slide it up without turning it on. The other consideration too with guards like this is they are much bulkier. So when you're looking at either of these other trimmers with the guard on, there is just not as much plastic going on around the head. So you can see that getting this Meridian trimmer into tight areas, you have these sort of giant plastic wings on either side that you're just not gonna have with the other trimmers. So when it comes to pubic and body hair trimming, generally you don't need a lot of cutting range. So, you know, this trimmer being designed as a body hair, pubic hair trimmer, that's really the type of use it's gonna see. So, you know, having these guards range up to 10 millimeters for chest hair, body hair isn't super functional. I think for a really specific tool like this, sticking kind of below that, really about the 5-6 millimeter range is probably about as high as you need to go. So I am personally not a big fan of this style of guard. Well, it's nice because you don't have a lot of plastic pieces floating around. I just don't feel like they work as well, especially for this function. So one other really important thing to consider when you're looking at this guard is the way it's designed, it's really only gonna cut to an accurate height when the trimmer is in this position. So you won't be able to flip it around, use it like this. You won't be able to trim like this, like you can with other trimmers. You can flip them upside down and sort of use them at any angle. With this style of guard, that really just doesn't become very possible. Also, another thing to note, there's a pretty big range difference between using this at its lowest setting, which they call 0. That's a little bit of a misnomer. Their 0 setting is probably at least 3 or so millimeters, given that the spacing from the blade. So if you ask me, I think they probably should have adjusted this scale on the side, starting at like 3 instead of 0, just to give you an accurate number of what that is. Of course, that's assuming that these numbers mean anything. They could be completely arbitrary. I don't know if they relate. So anyway, you can slide the guard completely off, which honestly, I feel like this is how probably 90% of this trimmer is going to be used. It's just going to be with the guard off. You know, the guards on these trimmers do add a level of protection. If you're new to trimming, if you want to be extra careful about avoiding cuts, then, you know, using the smallest guard lengths can be a good way to start. Overall, though, I think most people are going to be using this without this guard on. So, you know, guards can be tricky on any trimmer to slide on, and this one is no exception. All right, if any of you at home are struggling to get this guard on, I did too until I learned this method. So hold this in your hand like this, slide it onto the trimmer this way, like this. All right, you hear one click. Now you can't push it down until you push this button in, then you can push it down. So hold it like this, one click, and pushing the button, slide it down. Without that sequence, it can be a little frustrating, and holding it in other ways can be hard too. So this is always a two-handed project, but holding the guard in the palm of your hand, and then sliding this into it just like this. One click, and then push this lever down in the back, slide it down. All right, so overall, I am not a fan of this style of guard, especially when it comes to pubic hair, body hair trimming. It's a little bit bulkier than it needs to be. Overall, it's cutting a little bit. You're kind of missing a shorter end range with this, and it doesn't really allow you to cut in all the different orientations as you can with this other style of sort of snap-on guard. So if you do like this style of guard and have used it on other trimmers, there's a couple other trimmers that feature this style, and you're comfortable with it, that's fine. I've never personally liked this style of adjustable guard, for a number of reasons here. All right, so moving on, let's talk about charging. So Meridian did one cool thing with this that I like better than the Manscaped version, which is they have 2 charging prongs on the bottom so it can charge in the cradle, and then they used a USB-C on the bottom so that you can also charge it just by plugging it in. Now, I think this is totally necessary for a trimmer to be able to charge it without using the charging dock. So for some reason on Manscaped's latest iteration, they went to an induction charging system, so it cannot charge without the dock, which I don't love. I think it's way easier and more convenient just to plug the trimmer in. Beardscape has the same situation. It does have a proprietary cord. It's not a USB-C, but you can plug it right into the bottom or into the charging dock. So just again, the key there is having that ability to charge the trimmer without the dock. So right now, the Trimmer Plus from Meridian has that. The Beardscape has that. The Manscaped trimmer does not have that ability to charge without the dock. All right, so one other thing to talk about is the power button battery meter. So the Meridian does have a battery meter with 3 indicator lights. So it goes from red, yellow, green, depending on the battery status. One thing missing from this trimmer is a travel lock. So again, both the Manscaped 4.0 and the Beardscape V2 have a built-in travel lock, which is definitely nice. One thing with a trimmer, if it does turn on in your bag, it will run until the battery completely drains itself. So it's going to sound funny, it's going to get hot in there, and then you're going to wind up wherever you're going with the trimmer completely dead. So travel lock, I feel like at this time in 2022, almost 2023, if you're coming out with a new product and it has a button on it and a battery, it should probably have a travel lock as well. I think that's an easy addition that they kind of missed on this one. They did, however, put a light on this trimmer. I don't remember if their previous version had that or not. It's got a light on it, people. 2 presses the button, turns the light on. There we go. Okay, let's talk about the blades. So the blade on the Trimmer Plus is exactly the same as the previous version, which is fine. These ceramic blades are great. All 3 of these trimmers feature ceramic blades which stay sharp for an extremely long time. So one thing that Manscaped and Meridian talk about a lot is blade replacement and blade subscriptions. So one thing I want to point out is I would never recommend subscribing to a replacement blade because ceramic blades are fantastic and they last a very long time. So a lot of these companies talk about the hygiene bacteria issue, and I think throwing away a ceramic blade every couple months makes about as much sense as replacing your toilet when it gets dirty. If you do have concerns about bacteria or the blade getting dirty, it's very easy to clean and sanitize these blades and then just put them right back on. So as long as you're not sharing a trimmer with someone else, you don't have anything to worry about when it comes to spreading any type of harmful bacteria or having any negative consequences from using what they would call a dirty blade. So keep this blade for a long time. Keep it for many years. Don't subscribe. They're charging way too much for subscription blades anyway, which is silly. So, don't sign up for that lower price and think you're going to get away with something, because you will receive a new blade in the mail every couple months. Never subscribe to a replacement ceramic blade. That's kind of silly. The Manscaped and Meridian trimmers are both priced at $89.95, and the Beardscape V2 is priced at $104.95. So the difference between this range of trimmers is the Manscaped and Meridian are really focused on body hair. They've got kind of a shorter cutting range and, you know, really no other extra features when it comes to trimming. One thing I want to point out that it gets talked about a lot is blade design and blade safety. There isn't anything on any of these trimmers that makes the blade itself safer or different than any other trimmer that you've ever used in your entire life. The trick is really just keeping that blade away from your skin. Yes, every trimmer blade can cut your skin, so there is no such thing as skin safe. They all have potential to cut your skin. So my advice is always just use caution when trimming. This is a sharp tool and it will cut you. There's ways to avoid that. Light pressure, don't trim your hair when it's wet, and just making sure you're kind of keeping that trimmer at the correct angle. So again, if you're buying this for body hair, pubic hair trimming reasons, don't think that any one is safer than another based on what these manufacturers say. We've looked at these blades extensively and there is no difference in terms of safety when you're cutting loose skin in sensitive areas. One thing to note on the Beardscape, both the V1 and V2, the Beardscape features an adjustable blade. So if you do want a little bit more clearance when trimming pubic hair, you can slide this blade down a little bit. That moves the blade away from your skin, making it a little less likely to catch any loose skin in that blade. So it's just kind of another way to make that trimming experience a little bit better by making sure your hairs aren't getting cut too short, keeping that blade just a little bit further away from your skin. So when the blade on the Beardscape is all the way up, it's about 1 millimeter, which is pretty similar to what you would find on the Manscaped and the Meridian trimmers. The difference being that the Beardscape blade can slide down at 0.3 millimeter increments. So if you want to get your skin a little bit further away from that blade, just go ahead and slide that down. One of the other differences with the Beardscape is that the guards range from 1 millimeters all the way up to 18. So this is really something that goes far beyond body hair, pubic hair trimming, and this is a tool that you can use for full haircuts and maintaining longer beards. So depending on your body hair, facial hair, head hair situation, the Beardscape is going to be a little bit more versatile tool aimed at trimming all of those areas where the Manscaped and Meridian trimmers are really just focused on body hair and pubic hair. If you want a more in-depth comparison on the Lawnmower 4.0 versus the Beardscape V2, check out the video linked over here. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.